Hello and welcome. Welcome to all, whether you are joining us in person today or whether through the magic of technology, you're welcome. Whoever you are, if you are here in need of company and reassurance, if you are in pain or struggling at this time, I hope you will find some solace and understanding as we come together today to connect, sing and pray. I invite those of you online to light a candle now as I light our chalice as a symbol of our free religious faith. Take two. We have light. Let there be light. Let it shine in dark places, in moments of pain, in times of grief, in the darkness of hatred, violence, and oppression, where there is discouragement and despair. Wherever darkness is to be put to flight, let there be light. Now, today's service is called Bearing Up, or Why I Want to Be More Bear. The first part, Bearing Up, refers to my recent work life. The past couple of years, my work has been extremely busy, and the procedures we work through have changed at short notice, making my role different and more difficult. And perhaps this resonates with some of you. Maybe you found sudden changes to life hard over the past couple of years with everything we've been through. Or perhaps right now you're finding it hard to stay joyful in light of personal circumstances or with the various problems we're facing in the world currently. The changes I have experienced came to have a major impact on my enjoyment in and out of work, as I've often found myself frustrated or with feelings of insignificance in what I'm doing. The past month, though, my outlook has started to change for the better, I'm pleased to say. An inspiration came to me in the form of a well-known bear, and this is why, rather than bearing up, I've decided I want to be more bear, and maybe you would too. You may see on the screen or in the church, we have some residents of the 100 Acre Wood joining us today in soft toy form and with some copies of their well-loved stories. You may therefore have guessed the bear who has helped change my perspective. And you could even say that he has shown me the way. Last month, I finally read the long ago purchased copy of Benjamin Hoff's The Tao of Pooh. Some of you may be familiar with that. It's its 40th anniversary this year, so it has been around for a while. In that book, Hoff explains how Winnie the Pooh demonstrates the key principles of Taoism. Now, one of the key works of Taoism is the Tao Te Ching, which is a collection of 81 verses on the nature of existence, allegedly written by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu called what he saw as operating behind everything in heaven and earth, Tao, which is commonly translated into English as the way. Let us now sing about the way with our first hymn, as the words were actually inspired by the Tao Te Ching. So you'll find the words on the screen online or in the church, or if you'd like to, it's Purple Book, number 142, Shining Through the Universe. Thank you, that sounded beautiful. I would now like to invite Chris up to the lectern to read today's story.
There was once a stonecutter who was dissatisfied with himself and with his position in life. One day he passed a wealthy merchant's house. Through the open gateway he saw many fine possessions and important visitors. How powerful that merchant must be, he thought. He became very envious and wished that he could be like the merchant. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever imagined, but envied and detested by those less wealthy than himself. Soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants and escorted by soldiers bearing gongs. How powerful that official is, he thought. I wish I could be that high official. Then he became the high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair. It was a hot summer day, so the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky sedan chair. He looked up at the sun. It shone proudly in the sky, unaffected by his presence. How powerful the sun is, he thought. I wish I could be the sun. Then he became the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone. One day a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth. How powerful that storm cloud is, he thought. I wish I could be a cloud. Then he became the cloud, but soon he found he was being pushed away by some great force and realized it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish I could be the wind. Then he became the wind. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move, no matter how forcefully he blew against it. A huge, towering rock. How powerful that rock is, he thought. I wish I could be a rock. Then he became the rock, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the hard surface. He felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, the rock, he thought. He looked down and saw far below him the figure of a stonecutter.
Thanks for reading that, Chris. That was wonderful. Much appreciated. So, the philosopher Lao Tzu wrote that the earth is governed by the same laws as heaven. And these laws affect everything from the birds in the trees, the insect in the grass, and obviously humans as well. We all play our part as everything in the universe is understood to be connected. Lao Tzu believed that harmony is not achieved when we interfere or fight against the natural balance of way of things. And then with imbalance and disharmony, there's fighting and hatred and inequality. But one important way of playing our part and living in harmony with the way is knowing and respecting our own inner nature. So like the stonecutter in the story, there may be desirable abilities or lifestyles that we would like for ourselves, but being untrue to ourselves won't give us the power or harmony that we seek. But we can learn certain skills to develop our abilities, but we must really recognize what is already there naturally within. Now, according to the Tao Te Ching, we all have a remarkable latent power lying within us, but it only emerges when we are aware and aligned with the natural way of things and our inner nature. Perhaps you have experienced this for yourself when you're trying something for the first time. You seem to have a natural affinity for whatever it is, or perhaps no matter how hard you try with something, it's just really not lining up for you. When we know and respect our inner nature, then we know where we belong and what our limitation or our weaknesses are. And if we desire to be anything other than who we are, like the stonecutter, we run the risk of never being satisfied and living at odds with our inner nature. On the positive, though, our limitations can actually be our strengths. By knowing what they are, we can then work with them rather than having them work against us. And Lao Tzu believed that intuitive knowledge was the purest form of information. And when you're going with the flow of the way, you gain the ability to do things spontaneously and just have them work. Now, from an outsider's point of view, this often seems odd to people, or they liken it to a fluke. And this is what they call effortless action. And our dear friend Pooh Bear is a master at it. So Pooh shows an intuitive sensitivity to the natural order of things, and he works with circumstances he finds himself in, even when those things could be considered bad or difficult. Things just seem to appear to work out. And I'll just give a couple of examples from some of the books. So in chapter 3, in the house in Pooh Corner, the animals are looking for Rabbit's missing friends and relations, small little beetle. And Pooh Bear finds them. They're out on a search, and he finds them, but it's only after tumbling into a pit in the forest. Now, the pit actually is a heffalump hole that he and Piglet had eons before dug, but that's beside the point. In chapter 8 of Winnie the Pooh, Pooh Bear also rescues Roo, who has fallen into the river. Now, on the riverside, all the other animals and Christopher Robin, they're desperately trying to come up with ideas, and they're trying to rescue Roo. And along down there, Pooh Bear is just standing there calmly downstream, ready with a stick that he just found to rescue Roo. And everyone's over there kind of panicking or getting stressed. So it kind of sounds a bit magical. But I'm pretty confident that we have all had these sort of moments where things just seem to click. And maybe you view such moments as fate or providence or just plain luck. But I know I certainly would like my work procedures to be less complicated and more effortless. And I was thinking, but how? How could I do this? Now, in the books, there are other examples that show how Pooh is the embodiment of some of Taoism's other key principles. So besides effortless action, there's natural simplicity and spontaneity. Now, when you look at Pooh Bear and you think back to stories maybe from your childhood or ones you've shared with your own children or friends, you can agree, hopefully, that there's nothing pretentious about Pooh Bear. He's very genuine and straightforward. And actually, it's clear from his interactions that he's very friendly and spontaneous, much like a child himself. He will burst into song or go off on an adventure for no reason other than to have fun. And I'm sure we could all do with some spontaneous fun. I know I feel good after an impulsive sing-song, and I'm sure Joan online, if she's there, will agree with me on that. So taking a leaf out of Pooh Bear's book, I've been thinking that perhaps even on our upcoming week off, my husband and I could go out on a spontaneous adventure with no set destination or plan. And I thought it could be fun, a sort of experiment of sorts. Surprise. The books also illustrate how we can get into bother if we're not aware or in touch with our inner nature. And thinking of examples of that, Tigger comes to mind, the striped tiger. In chapter 4 of The House at Pooh Corner, he is boastful about his abilities. And he claims when he's talking to Roo that Tiggers can do anything. And that climbing actually is what they can do best. Not quite. A page or so on and we find Tigger and Roo stuck up a very tall pine tree, because it turns out it's not what Tiggers can do best, and he can't do everything. Verse 63 of the Tao Te Ching recommends that to follow the way when we're faced with a problem, we should just go with the flow, similar to water. So on a river, if it comes up against a boulder, it doesn't try to go through the boulder, it will go around it. By working our way around areas of resistance with small, non-confrontative actions, energy can then be directed to achieve our aims without actually interfering with the natural cycle of events. So I started to wonder how I could apply this to my situation with work. And I thought, well, I'm quite an emotional and sensitive person, and this can be my strength, but this can also be a limitation if I let it, which is probably what's been getting me down. I've been letting my emotions govern how I've been feeling so much. So in relation to the disharmony, I can certainly see how focusing on the negative effects of the procedures has been akin to water trying to go through the boulder rather than around it. So if I turn my limitation into a strength, though, I could focus positively and guided by the passion and love I have for well-being in the workplace, from colleagues and myself, and good customer service, that frustration could be transformed into enthusiasm to actually help and support. And actually, rather than trying to change the procedures head on, I could go around the areas of resistance by working maybe with improvement groups that they have, or put in more feedback to try to advance the positive changes that I would like to see at work. It sounds simple when I say it now, but you know how easy it is to get caught up when you're frustrated or upset. And when life gets busy or difficult, we often get out of step with our inner nature, don't we? We can't see the wood for the trees, and effortless action certainly seems like a romantic dream. I then started to think about how could I make sure that I try to not let myself get caught up like this. And maybe you've got some good tips you can share with us after the service. But when I was thinking of the way and Winnie the Pooh, I thought the important way to achieve this is to always take some time away from everything other than yourself and take a few minutes to check in. Winnie obviously sometimes goes away into the forest and actually sits with himself, and he's often found and he's just relaxing. If you do this for 3 or 4 minutes, just check in, slow down your breathing, and just do a body scan, but try not to let your mind distract you. It gives you that space and time for your body to kind of recalibrate our senses, so you can actually reconnect with your inner nature and the universe. Rather than just being dragged along, you're actually relaxed. Another way I thought you could experience this, because obviously those kind of meditative pauses aren't for everybody, you may relate that when you fall asleep or when you wake up first thing in the morning, it happens because obviously your senses are not distracted, your mind has been emptied. Suddenly an answer to a problem you've had or an idea instantly comes into your mind, and everything just seems obvious. In Taoism, it's understood that within us all there is a being who, like Pooh, is a master of effortless action, spontaneous fun, and natural simplicity. But with our busy modern lives, it may be hard to hear that voice or recognize our powerful inner nature as we go about our day. But if we dedicate time and space to listen to it, it may also just show us the way Pooh Bear does. I'd like to invite us to sing again, this time again from the Purple Book. It's number 21, and it's Come and Find the Quiet Center.
Find the
I would like to share a prayer in a moment, after which there will be some time for personal reflection. As we often do, we will have some silence initially. Throughout the prayer, there are 3 pauses for us each to take a deep in and out breath, and the words will guide you to when this is. I'll try to make it clear. Sorry. So this is a prayer for difficult times. In the quiet, let us gather our hearts, many hearts beating, many people dreaming, many souls yearning for peace, for freedom from worry, for assurance of a brighter tomorrow. We gather in difficult times. Growing numbers of people unemployed, hungry, afraid. Growing numbers of people living under the shadow of war and violence. We gather in difficult times. Here in the quiet of our assembly, here in shared warmth and compassion, just for this moment, may we feel free of our burdens. May we breathe in together, gathering in peace, and may we breathe out together, letting go of worry and fear. Just for this moment, may we feel quietness of heart. May we breathe in together, gathering in gentleness. May we breathe out together, letting go of frustration and anger. Just for this moment, may we feel held in a community of loving souls. May we breathe in together, gathering in support and caring. May we breathe out together, letting go of loneliness and isolation. Just for this moment, may we sit together, one community of peaceful, quiet, loving souls, buoyed by our shared strength and spirit. Just for this moment, may we know in our hearts that we are not alone. May it be so. So in addition to effortless action, natural simplicity, and spontaneity, Taoism also recognizes compassion as essential for living in harmony with the way of the universe. Now, Pooh is a very kind and thoughtful bear, but there is another famous literary bear who I think, thanks to his personal journey, will always be a symbol of compassion and tolerance to me anyway. So hopefully you recognize this. Paddington here, he actually normally sits on my work desk at home. I imagine most of you are familiar with Paddington Bear's story. If not, Paddington here arrives as a young bear on his own at Paddington Station with nothing but a suitcase, a half-empty jar of marmalade, and a label that reads, "Please look after this bear, thank you." He gets taken in by the Brown family, and after some hilarious mishaps and British politeness, he becomes part of the family. Now, for over 6 decades, Paddington has been teaching readers the importance of compassion through the tale of taking in a refugee bear from the deepest, darkest Peru. I don't know if he's going to sit. So his story is still sadly very relevant today as prejudice towards immigrants remains. and the number of displaced people seeking refuge continues to grow around the world. And like Pooh Bear, Paddington is a bear that I actually would like to be more like too. Maybe not the marmalade, but he has a small ego and a huge heart. He always looks for the good in everyone, even when he's faced with meanness or daunting challenges. Perhaps you have a literary bear who inspires you. Maybe it's Winnie or Paddington or Rupert or Yorick Burninson, is it? I never know his name, from the Philip Pullman series. I'd like us now to sing of compassion in our final hymn. It's a song I think we're not overly familiar with from the Green Book. It's 125. It's called One Human Commonwealth. Now, the words say human and race, but I'm sure it's a typo and it actually meant to say all beings and all species, but maybe that's just me. Thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you for listening today. I will end the service in a moment with a benediction inspired by the Serenity Prayer. Loving Spirit, please grant us the grace to accept with serenity those things that cannot be changed, and the courage to change the things which should be with kindness. Bless us with the wisdom to recognize the one from the other. Fill our hearts with joyful spontaneity as we strive to live one day at a time, enjoying each moment, whilst also recognizing and accepting hardship as a pathway to peace. Let us take the world as it is, not as we would have it, trusting that all will be well if we follow the way of the universe, living simply, effortlessly, and with compassion for all. Blessed be.